Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here today to give you my first review of a piece of equipment from the brand Neewer. This is the FS-150B, and in a nutshell, this is a small and lightweight 130 watt bicolor light rated up to 72,000 lux at 1 meter distance. It employs COB, or chip on board technology, that allows the light to be both lighter but also brighter at the same time. So the question is this budget light, is it worth considering if you're looking for something for a studio setting, if you're looking for something to light a set, for example, if you're wanting to record video, different things like that. We're going to dive into that today and try to break it down for you. So to give you some of the basic specs, as noted, this is bicolor in that it can be controlled in increments from 2700 Kelvin up to 6500 Kelvin. So going from very warm to very cool in terms of the lighting effect. It can be dimmed at 1% increments from 1 to 100%, but it also has uniquely something that I haven't really seen before. It has 4 different dimming curves. And so as a process of doing that dimming, you can actually create different lighting effects right from within it, depending on how you control it. You can control the light itself through various means. There are some physical controls at the back that you can always do it just kind of the straightforward way. There is also Bluetooth app control. You can control it that way. Also, if you're running multiple lights, doesn't even have to be this exact same one, but just ones that are compatible with Neewer's 2.4 gigahertz technology, you can pair into groups, and so that you can control lights together, or you can control them independently, depending on your preference. But you can remotely control them from other such lights by using their 2.4 gigahertz technology there as well. It has, as you can see here, it comes with a standard reflector, but it is a very typical Bowens mount, which means that there is a huge variety of different accessories you can use to modify the light output, to shape the light, everything from soft boxes to snoots to barn doors, etc., and so that you can shape this light in the way that you want. And so having that Bowens mount is obviously hugely important because it just opens up a wide variety of accessories from, you can buy some from Neewer, but of course there's a lot of brands that sell those Bowens mount, accessories. Now, the maximum power output is 130 watts, and as noted, it is rated at 72,000 lux at a 1 meter distance. I did some light test with a lux meter. I'll get to that in just a second. The light itself is lightweight. It weighs in at 3.78 pounds or 1.7 kilograms. Very easy to carry around. It comes with the reflector I've shown you, but it also comes with a very nice carrying case that has custom shaped foam inputs that allows you to carry everything there conveniently, and has handles on it. And because the light itself is lightweight, I found it quite easy to just kind of pack out to various locations. It does include a power adapter. It is compatible with V-mount or with other battery type things, but obviously those are going to be separate accessories, and it's not a matter of having a V-mount somewhere on the light itself. You're going to have to run cabling to it to power it off that. I will note that the actual power input itself is actually XLR, so it does allow it to lock into place. The nice thing about that is you're not going to inadvertently pull that out. The downside, of course, is somebody trips over a cord at some point, probably the whole stand's going to come over rather than the power cord removed. So, give and take when it comes to that. There are 12 different scenes that can emulate different things, and we'll take a look at a couple of those in just a moment. And rather than being plastic like some competitors, this is an aluminum alloy chassis to it. The fan itself is very quiet. In fact, one of the things that I found in my test, I've actually used this, I've been testing it on set for about a month at this point, so a lot of my recent videos have actually been lit by this. And throughout all of those videos, so recording, I've probably spent at least an hour and a half on camera running this light, and during that time I've actually not heard the fan ever have to come on. And so as a byproduct, if it did come on, it was so quiet that I didn't hear it on set at all. Now, I compared this to another similar 150 watt light that I was testing at the same time. And so the 150 watts doesn't relate to the output, it relates to the input. And when I actually tested the power draw, I found the power draw to be at 163 watts. And but as far as the light output, even though I had similarly spec'd a light that I was comparing it against, one that I've had for a while, I found that this particular light, the Neewer light, probably because of having the chip on board technology that the other light does not, it was, number one, it was brighter. It was brighter not only at the 1 meter distance, I actually tested it closer to like a ½ meter. And so I got a significantly higher figure, as you can see here. But when I put the competing light there, it was about a 20,000 lux difference between the two, which is obviously significant. But more importantly, when I got about 10 feet away, probably a more standard distance, 3 meters, when you're actually lighting something on set, I found that I still had a significant difference there, that I was still getting a lot of lux for one thing, but I was also getting the lux about 2,538 lux higher than what I got on using the competing light. And so obviously it not only is brighter up close, but it's also, what I have really found is that it's really good at keeping a more focused lighting beam, which is really important if you're just using the kind of the standard reflector, because it means you're getting a lot of light, but you're still getting it relatively focused. Whereas I've had some issue in times past, unless I put barn doors or something like that on a light, it's not as focused as what I like. The spread is too broad. And so in this case, if you're looking for something that's a little bit more, it's not quite a spotlight with just the standard reflector on there, but it's a little closer to that in terms of performance. Now, a pro and con here, obviously, as you look side by side, this light is significantly smaller, and that's part of the chip on board technology. It is significantly smaller than the competing light, but the difference is also, just for all fairness, is that this has an external power brick if you're going to run, just the typical AC power, whereas the competing light just plugs into the back of it with just a cord. And so all of the power brick stuff is internal on that. So, depending on your application, that's either a pro or a con. Now, obviously, if you're wanting to run the light off remote power, V-mount battery or something similar, then having a smaller and lighter is obviously useful no matter what. As already noted, the light pattern is quite focused, and it's focused enough that even at a 10 meter, or not 10 meter, but 3 meter distance or so, 10 feet, I found that the light was almost too intense, even at fairly small levels, which is great that there's a lot of power there. That just means that I could diffuse that light. And so I've been using an umbrella, and there is a standard umbrella mount that not all competitors have right there. It's easy to use, and so throwing an umbrella on there has softened the light and made it more flattering for that kind of application. Now, I also tested some of the different scenes, and you can see some of them here, things like lightning, candlelight, there's the emulating a TV screen, as you can see here, and then a broken bulb. There's 12 different scenes. Some of them work better than others. There's nothing that really kind of stood out to me as being exceptional. I mean, basically all it's doing is it's modifying intensity of the light, either being flashes, the color temperature of the light. And so, I mean, it's pretty standard stuff that a lot of lights have, and that can be gimmicky unless you actually need it for kind of an effect on scene. But as noted, some of them work better than others. The app itself seems to work fine. I was able to get fairly reactive control over things, not a lot of lag in there, and the app itself seemed to me to be relatively straightforward. I noticed that in the App Store it did not have a great rating. But as far as my own personal experience, having used a lot of these different control apps, it's actually better than many that I've used before. So I have no real complaint on that front. And as noted already, the fan does seem to remain quiet, and I've never had it pop up as being some kind of issue on set. So a couple of negatives just to kind of round this out. There is no DMX control, and so if you're wanting to put in a kind of a fixed wiring situation where you can control it off of a board somewhere, you're not going to have that option with this light. It's one of the ways where it portrays that it's a little bit low end. And then of course, not only does it have that external power brick that can be a little bit of a pain to navigate, but it also comes with no kind of like cable management, nothing to tuck into, and so you're probably going to need to use zip ties or gaffer tape or something if you're wanting to actually control cable management to make sure that nobody's tripping over it or something like that. So my conclusion is that I'm actually quite pleased with it just as a light, particularly as a video on-set light. It has a great amount of intensity. I feel like it is definitely brighter than equivalent lenses or equivalent lights that I've used before. I also like the fact that it's a great light to use at a little bit more of a distance. You have a little bit more flexibility of where you can place it and still get a good lux value on the target or on the set. It's not going to be as good if your goal is to have a really wide spread. Now, you could put barn doors on there, remove the standard reflector, and just kind of really open things up and get a broader spread. You can put it into a softbox, and I do feel like it would handle something like a softbox better because it has a good amount of intensity. And so those can be positives, but I think this light works really, really well if you want a little bit more of a focused light. And of course, obviously, it works really well if you have a limited budget. You can almost any day of the year get this well under $200 US and sometimes closer to the 160 range. And so that makes it a really strong value as far as having a light like this. There are some competitors that can be twice as much, if not more. And so as far as just getting the job done and with a very decent construction and a lightweight design, I think that the Neewer FS-150B, it checks a fair number of the boxes that you might be looking for a budget set light. I'm Dustin Abbott, and if you look in the description down below, you can find buying links there if you're interested in looking a little bit further. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and let the light in.